Mr. Options Guy. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about three things. So number one, we have to talk about the new CDD analyst downgrading Palantir and basically saying, like the stock is overvalued, blah, blah, blah. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you guys why you don't have to worry. And this is all part of what analysts do. I'll go into more details in a second. So the second thing we're going to talk about is the new contract that we got. And I know it's another contract. So I feel like every time we take one step forward, we take two steps back kind of thing. Especially with like Palantir, I don't know why this morning it shot up like crazy and then it ended up being red and everyone's like, what the heck happened? So don't worry, there's good news coming out with the contract. And lastly, the third thing that we're going to talk about is the White House launching a National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office. So I'm going to go into more detail of what that means. And I'm even going to break it down to you, like the budgets and how much money they're allocating to AI and all that good stuff, and why it will definitely benefit Palantir, I think most of all, out of all the other competitors. So stick around and let's get into it. Alright, so first let's talk about what happened with Citigroup and their downgrade. Basically, let's go through this article. So Citigroup basically is saying, especially this analyst named Tyler Radke, he's calling the stock vulnerable in 2021. Now he kind of contradicts himself, because even though he says it's vulnerable and he downgrades the stock to a sell, he's actually increasing his price target to $15, which is a 50% increase. So overall in this article, he's basically saying that he feels a little bit skeptical about the non-government side of the business for Palantir, which is the private sector, and he's feeling skeptical about their growth, and overall he's also feeling not too comfortable with just having the government kind of like support or be like the main line of business for Palantir. So that was pretty much his downgrade. Overall, he's not saying anything bad about the company. He's not saying anything bad about the leadership or the business model. Nothing like that. Overall, he's just saying that it's kind of vulnerable. So if we take a look at his profile, he does have a pretty good success rate and a pretty good average return. He is ranked 629 out of like 7,000. And then that just got me thinking, like, okay, why is he saying this stuff, Then I see his best rating is on MongoDB for a buy. And MongoDB is somewhat of a competitor, not really, to Palantir. MongoDB is a database company, and like database and like big data is kind of like, I would consider that like its own market, whereas Palantir is big data analytics, which is kind of totally different. And this one has more of like the AI aspect. So I mean, if we look at Brent Thiel, he's the analyst. He's ranked 16, and he's the one that actually just recently said that Palantir needs to have a premium valuation of $30. So he increased his price target from 18 to 30, whereas Tyler downgraded his stock to a sell, but he increased his price target as well. So overall, if I was just an outside investor, then I would, like, if I was just comparing these two guys, I would go more with Brent Thiel's evaluation and recommendation, and I still feel strong that Palantir would definitely get to 30. Probably not this week, but depending on how things play out next week politically and all that stuff, I feel like if everything goes well, Palantir will most likely hit 30. If not the week after, because that's when the demo day hype is gonna kick in on January 26th. Okay, so now let's talk about some good news. So one of the good news that happened today was Palantir got another contract. So this one's interesting because it says right here the contract value for this phase is 8.5 million, but it does have a potential of 250 million over all 4 phases. So basically, the Army's Tactical Intelligence Access Node Program, which is acronym for Titan, they're basically saying, you know what, Palantir will give you 8.5 million. This do us like a prototype, and if you guys do well, then we'll stick with you guys, and they'll give them basically more money over a longer period of time, which is where the phases come in. So as of right now, they're in phase 1, and I believe the phase 1 lasts for 12 months. So the phase 1 is really just designing and demonstrating a prototype, and then from there, if things go well, then Palantir will most likely stick with them, and then complete the other 4 phases. So this was good news. I think this is kind of what like brought up the stock in the morning, and it caused like high volume / momentum. However, in the end of the day, it did come down to more of a sell-off as people started taking profits and the volume started dying. I do feel that tomorrow in the morning it might be something very similar, where it might have like high buying in the morning, whereas towards the end of the day it would probably like be the same, more profit taking and stuff. And I feel like this trend has been going on for a while because investors are still a little bit skeptical. The ones that are not like holding on for long term, like the strong Palantir bulls, but the outside ones that are kind of like tipping their toes, I feel like they're just getting in and getting out. I feel like demo day might actually, hopefully it's good, and it showcases more into what Palantir can do and convert more tiptoe investors into long-term investors. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about what the White House has recently done and why it's kind of cool. So the White House, they launched the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office. That's kind of like a word mouth, but basically what this means is that the government is committed to doubling AI research investment, which I think is really good news, especially for Palantir, because I feel like Palantir is one of the leaders in AI and big data analytics. And not only are they the leaders, they already have a lot of experience with the US government and just like multiple contracts, lucrative contracts, one after the other. So I think it's really good news, and it's good news moving forward. So the cool thing is that they kind of break it down right here into the artificial intelligence. They break down like their 2021 budget and how much of an increase they're putting into the AI sector. But before we break this part down, I wanted to show you guys this information. So this was from 2018 to 2020, and basically they had this program where they allocated around 5.5 billion into different sectors, and you can see the AI had a good amount right here. So that's pretty good because it shows you like the different program components and like AI, where how much money for each department went. So in 2020, for example, it was around 15.1 million for the Department of Homeland Security, around 108 for the Department of Energy, I believe that's what it is. I think it's 108, somewhere on there. And then so on and so on. You can see 38.5 for the FDA, 4.8 for NASA. So overall right here, you can see kind of like a breakdown of like how much it was. So we go back here. This article is basically saying that the National Science Foundation has increased their budget to 830 million, which represents more than 70% increase from their 2020 budget. So that's pretty cool. And the Department of Energy, they're investing 125, which is an increase of 54. So I think if you break down the number, I think they're using this number, Department of Energy. So 71 plus 54 comes out to around 125. And then here they're just basically saying how there's more money from different sectors of departments. So that's the cool thing about the government being involved with Palantir, because it's not just the government, like one entity that's pouring money into Palantir with contracts. There's different agencies. So I thought it was pretty cool. And long-term wise, if you're a long-term investor, I would feel pretty comfortable, especially if you're seeing these numbers. And these are just the numbers coming from the government. We haven't really seen that many numbers coming from the private sector, and there's definitely other numbers coming from other governments, from not just the United States, but like the UK, and then I think I saw some from Japan. So there's definitely more government contracts, not just from the United States. So overall, long-term investing, I think we're in a good state. And even though we had like a downgrade today, overall, I feel like just by looking at all these numbers and breaking down the trend and what I see, so I feel like pretty comfortable if I would be a long-term investor. If you're an options guy like me, or I think selling options, especially right now, wouldn't be that bad, considering for this week I don't think we're gonna hit 28 or 28.5, possibly next week. So also if you're selling puts, I think a good strike price to be selling at would be 24.25. So right now that's the range that I see, somewhere between 24 and 28 for this week. Who knows what would happen next week, but if you just want to get some extra premium, definitely do that. For all you option guys that bought a bunch of calls and hit the 30 strike, if I were you, I wouldn't be buying calls, especially like week out. I would be doing possibly probably like March would be a good safe bet, because that kind of gives enough time for a lot of things to happen, enough time for the demo day, earnings, and this whole lockup expiration stuff to happen. So March would definitely be a good time if you're buying calls and stuff like that. Anyway, so if you like this video, please give a like, please subscribe. And I'm not gonna go into my portfolio today, but it did go down probably like 5,000. I think yesterday it was like around 101, 102, and now it's around 96. So overall, I'm still holding on to my 6,000 shares of Palantir, and I still have 30 calls that expire on March. So that's it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next video.